Welcome to the Quantum Light Consciousness Broadcast Show. Today, by popular due, we have our guest, Lauren Pritchard.
Hey, everybody.
Now, Lauren is a researcher, experiencer, and consultant with her company, New Earth Consulting. She specializes in researching artificial intelligence and exposing its threats to humanity. She helps individuals along the awakening path by helping them integrate grounded and rational ideas of higher awareness, facilitate that heart-centered energy, and heal trauma. She's also a blogger and a speaker on her live broadcasts and live energy updates on her YouTube channel, Lauren Pritchard Ascension. Laura, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. Good. Thank you so much for having me, Jarrell. How are you?
Very good. Just enjoying this frosty February day here, having a coffee.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just got back to Austin, Texas after 3 months. I was in New York, and it's so crazy just getting settled in. So much to do.
Right. The schlep there and back, it's gotta be.
Yeah. It felt like relocating.
True. Okay. So let's get started. I kind of just want to go over the basics of what's going on. If you've guys seen this show, for those watching, we're basically just going to talk about basic stuff going on in the consciousness, things that people are experiencing and things that people are observing, and how you guys can kind of wrap your head around what's going on during the shitstorm in the media and all the things that are bringing its way forward within the realm of awakening. So. First question, Lauren, do you think that it's ever going to become obvious that the Trump administration right now is currently shifting global government powers from a space level with what we like to call the Q phenomenon?
So the Trump administration or QAnon, or the two of them combining.
Yeah.
See, that's hard because I feel like at this stage in the game, everybody's realities are. So first of all, inconvenient truth, guys. There is one truth. Super inconvenient, right? But I think a lot of people's realities that are really focused on being against Donald Trump and the Trump administration, I wonder if they'll ever, and if it matters, I feel like he could do something amazing, and the people who have just tied their identity to disliking Donald, it becomes an identity for people. They'll find some sort of way their egos will find some sort of creative way to spin it. And, everyone knows that at this point, but I like to talk about new and different things. I'm seeing a stereotype forming, and that stereotype would be people who are Donald Trump haters. They're typically pretty sleepy, typically vaccine getting, and typically the type of people that would fall victim to an AI agenda. But they won't be falling victim to it. They'll probably enjoy that sort of thing. So I'm getting a little more controversial here with this, and I apologize if that offends anybody. And this is just something that I have been meditating on for a little while, and it really seems to be the case. So yeah, those who are not so incredibly closed-minded, yeah, the QAnon and the Trump administration will become obvious, but those who are really stringent, there's something wrong with their ego, and that ego in decision-making, there's something wrong there too, and that reality is going to lead them down a different path. So for those, no.
Right, yeah. And the thing that I like to at least kind of point out is what QAnon's actually been doing, the actual drops that QAnon has had, and the pushback from mainstream. If you guys know, guys that are watching, girls that are watching, anybody out there who are watching, if you guys know what has been going on with the mainstream and how they've been pushing back on QAnon, like if it's a conspiracy theory, like Q is not going to take up any type of mainstream media airtime whatsoever. Like they're not going to spend time and money to actually go out their way and debunk something that they think is some type of, crazy tinfoil hat thing. Like some of the things that are covered on the mainstream currently, of course, right now as we speak, we have the Michael Cohen hearing going on. Like they're grilling this dude. He's like answering questions. Jury's like, so did you meet with a Russian? Like there's no, like, they think Russia are like Nazis. Like it's crazy. Like, so as far as the Q phenomenon goes, I feel like they are shifting. There's like a global shift taking place, and you just kind of like have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to the outline of the dots that are in place and who's controlling what strings and how those moves on the board actually affect the overall big picture, what's, been predicted to happen. If you're a light worker, you kind of tune into these things of what has been prophesized to happen for these mass arrests that are supposed to be going down. And personally, in my opinion, I feel like Q has a big handle on that. What do you think?
Yeah, and I guess it's sort of one of those things, whether the mass arrests are happening or not, along with Q being anonymous and not going mainstream, how are we going to know? How are we going to know if this is really happening? Are they just going to stage a death, like, oh, this person died, that person died, or they getting arrested in these mass arrests? It's kind of up for us to speculation. So as far as the military tribunals and those mass arrests, I don't know. Everybody teach their own, whatever interests you. But I personally don't get too far into it because it's not something that is going to be obvious.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I trust it. I trust the Q plan. I trust the Q sources.
Yeah, me too. So how long do you think it's going to take the masses to actually figure out that every person on the planet is actually made of energy, and that free energy tech actually exists?
What is made of energy?
Like every person is actually an energy being.
At this moment in time, February 27th, I just got back from Conscious Life Expo and I heard an Ascension panel. And before then, I had seen some people, some light workers and teachers of Ascension talking about this equinox, spring equinox, March 21st. And I take these things with a grain of salt, but when you have a wide range of people getting the same information, it sort of gives it more weight to me. And in the spring equinox, March 21st, I'll actually be in Sedona, Arizona for Beyond the Matrix conference. There's tickets still available. I have a discount code if anyone wants to go. It would be a beautiful event for the spring equinox. It's anticipated that everyone is going to be different because it's a portal. And if you think about it, our planet doesn't move stationary. It moves in a spiral. It moves through the galaxy, through the universe, and we are entering a more higher energetic part of the universe. So our planet is upgrading the energy. We are Earthlings. That's kind of like a mind blown for people just waking up. Like, we are Earthlings. Like, it starts out with the planet and then it's us. So think about how incredibly close that relationship is. And if the planet's moving, we're moving with it. We're so connected to the planet. And, she's going with or without us. So I anticipate this year, like, everybody is going to recognize that their energy, and I guess for those of people who don't, they'll just kind of go down to cyborg reality. And for those who are just sort of in the middle, they'll figure it out some other way.
Yeah, I feel like that's basically the gist of what's going to happen. Like, eventually people are going to have to wake up and look at their bodies. Like, not that, people are walking around like out of their bodies, but like typically like basically like a normal person, like your awareness, like where you keep it in your body is usually like not inside you. You kind of like hang like, you know, kind of like out here, and you're kind of like walking around like busy, like doing stuff. Like that's how a lot of people live their lives. And it's like, you kind of just have to like, at least, you know, think of like, what if the earth is actually alive? What if the sun is alive? What if the sky is alive? What if we're actually shifting into higher density and there's no going back? Like, it's going to become apparent that it's not going to be any going back for, you know, people who figure it out themselves. And then people who don't figure it out, it's kind of like, I feel like it's always time to reincarnate. Like, but what are some of the things we can say to help masses figure out that every phone in their hand is dark energy, like spiraling out of it? It's kind of like a dark projection device that captivates their attention, so they'll keep scrolling. We talked about this last time, but I wanted to go into like how that physics actually works against your auric field. And it's like, it's hypnotizing. Basically, I can tell people that their phone is hypnotizing them on purpose. Yeah,
absolutely. What we can do is recognize when we're being sucked into our phones. So my friends, if you guys know Simon Esler, he actually started the QAnon think tank. He suggested that whenever you touch your phone, whenever you go into your phone, have a plan of what you're going to do on the phone, and then, you know, when you do it, get off. So just so we're mindless of our usage, you know, it's like using technology, don't let it use us. Also reevaluate your digital self. Is your digital self as close as it can be to your real true soul self? Very important. We don't want a disconnect in our identities, because it causes an existential crisis. It causes a lot of unhappiness, and it causes a lot of fear, because it's when it's inauthenticity, it doesn't match up with its truthful resonance, which is what the planet is upgrading to be more truthful. And it's just not healthy mentally. It's not good for your mental health, not good for your energy either. And then also the next step is your devices will be reading your mind. So, I mean, I don't really plan on upgrading my device as long as I can. Now that I said that out loud, they're already listening to you, right? Like they're already collecting data on you. Your phone is a clone of yourself. Like this is your clone. And it's been with you for however long. If you upgraded it, if you uploaded everything that you've ever said, everything you've ever done in here into a robot, it would be your true robot self. Next step is it's going to read your mind. It's going to read your thoughts. If you haven't noticed that already, I know some people have speculated that already. So, I guess maybe disconnecting from the phone a little bit would be wise.
Right. The worst, honestly, that I've seen is Instagram. Like once you open that website, I think we covered that last time. There's just dark energy just spiraling out of that thing. It's just dark, just gross, just like shit energy, actually waste energy spiraling out of that thing.
Yeah.
And it overlays somebody's auric field, and then they become a walking projection device. They literally become a walking artificial fake version of themselves. And it's like, it's kind of the reason why it's like people are so obsessed with getting more followers just on that website. It's like no other social media outlet has like more people like going after more followers, more likes, more just attention and awareness towards their account from there. So as long as we get into our bodies and we shut that off, because there's a function on it, and that function is really getting into like your inner space. So it's like sorry, go ahead.
Instagram, when used responsibly, is a business card and nothing more than that. Right.
Yeah. See, I want to do an Instagram for Quantum Light Consciousness, the website, but it's like they want you to connect every single little thing that you have.
Yeah.
I had a little social media management software program. So I was like, okay, I'll use Instagram if I don't have to go on the shit website. So I'm doing it, and then I'm like, okay, well, I signed up, clicked out of it, and I'm like, all right, so what's next? And then they're like, okay, you need a Facebook business page, and then you need to use the Instagram app, and then
Yeah.
you need to sign up the Instagram account to the Facebook business page, and and then you need to authenticate it from the social media management app. Like, all right, and then just no way. So
Yeah. I went through that to try to link my Facebook to it to make it, just more traffic and more business followers, but it won't let me. There's some odd restrictions, and I'm not very tech savvy, so I can't really give any weight to it. But there's a lot of odd restrictions here and there too that makes me wonder.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like the brick wall hit was like, for your security reasons, we're not going to let you in, and if you want to get in, we need to make sure it's you. So you need to take a picture of yourself and send it to us. I'm like, you guys don't even like know what I look like yet. It's like crazy. It's just a robot. It's just a huge robot, just pulling shit and just like controlling the entire like artificial grid there. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, before we get more into that, there's always time to talk about that. So kind of like more of a like financial perspective here. As far as like how banks work, if you look at the dollar, it's kind of like there's a pyramid on it, and at the top of the pyramid there's an I, and if you know what an I stands for in a pyramid, it's based on consciousness. And if you know consciousness, if it's not yours, like you have to know the intention of that consciousness. And if you know what the Federal Reserve is, which most people do, at least I know you do, like a lot of people on this webcast watching this probably do if they're here. Do you think people will actually look at how banks work when the Fed is ended and it's finally reset back to gold?
Let's see. So when the Federal Reserve has ended?
Yeah, do you think like because the big thing with Trump is that he's trying to reset everything back to the gold standard since before Nixon.
And many other countries have done that already, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. And when that finally happens, we'll get a lot of that energy that we lost. And a lot of the resources that are been straight up stolen and gone to waste for endless wars and total just shenanigans happening in space. And just a whole bunch of just things that are unmentionably bad, just tyrannical. So when that finally happens, because it's eventually going to happen, in my opinion, that's what the spirit of America was started as. Like the actual Declaration of Independence, when that was signed, there was a lot of supernatural things going on, like to get that bill signed.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't know is like a lot of those leaders in that Revolutionary War were actually multidimensional walk-ins.
Wow.
And if you look like at the paintings in the White House, all of those like holographic paintings, like Da Vinci painted them all. It's like, it's crazy. It's like, but it's like, it all goes back to banking and like how countries run. So it's like, do you think people actually like look into that kind of stuff and like actually see like what the dollar means, like the symbolism means? Ever?
I feel like I do, because it's very fascinating, and there's actually now a 6-part series on Gaia TV. While I have come to realize at this moment in time, Gaia TV is not run by very, very nice people, but whatever, we'll still take the occulted information that they're allowing to come out. And there's a 6-part series by Jordan Maxwell on symbolism, and I highly recommend going and watching it. I can actually, somebody wanted to watch, I could send it to them for free through my subscription. But it very well explains everything from the dollar down to shipping, down to the way it's called labor and mother and labor and feminine and certificate of manifest and all these crazy things. It's also very esoteric. Like, so I'm not surprised to hear that a lot of those people involved in the Revolutionary War were walk-in souls. Because I've been doing a lot of research from World War II, and coming to find out, there's some very interesting characters involved in, or not World War II, World War I, and there's some very interesting characters involved in that, and it's a lot of esoteric information. So anyways, if people did look it up, super interesting, super fascinating, and I guess it could be a little more lighthearted when the value of our dollar isn't what it has. I guess they were just printing money at a certain point. They were just printing money. It didn't matter. It wasn't backed by anything. They just kept printing out more shit. And that's how money's become so imaginary. And all money is it takes your creative energy, it puts a value on it, and then keeps you enslaved by it. It's like this perpetual thing. If we did what we did best, and we wouldn't need money if we just did what we did best.
Right.
All it is enslavement on your creativity, and it puts a value on your creativity.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like, at least what I've heard, some channelers say, it's like some Palladians, it's always the Palladians who are like, oh, we're happy you guys have money, because without that, then you probably be somewhere else even lower than where you're at. So it's like, we do need money. Like, we do need it to like be like an actual monetary currency of exchange. And the way I like to look at it is kind of like, yeah, it's enslavement. You can't really get past that, but it's also like heart energy. It's like shifting into like a new paradigm of perceiving money for what it is. It's kind of like a river of just flowing energy, and it's like getting into that and moving through it and becoming that current is the most challenging part of like getting money. So
we wouldn't have people like siphoning it from us in very odd ways. Like, I'm sorry, toll roads. I mean, and then fines on top of not paying your toll, and then parking tickets, and then fines on top of not paying your parking. We wouldn't have all these really extraneous things. And then also, subscriptions, but if you don't cancel it, they're going to charge you. And then it's like, we're not going to have all this nonsense.
Yeah, it just comes down to a lack of trust. Like, if you can't trust somebody to just like be able to like hold resources and not be like, haha, this shit's mine. Like, you sleep somewhere like down low in a crevice somewhere. It's like come on, there has to be some type of like mutual respect for human life. Like, some of it just has to do with just kid shit. Just like, it's like, well, I got it and you don't, so you pay me because because I feel like it pretty much.
There's definitely going to be a higher level of consciousness when this happens, and I think it's going to come soon. I think that the planetary events aligned for 2019 are really intense. And so by the end of 2019, I think we'll be in a way better state energetically, and that's when we can allow things to come out, because it doesn't feel good naturally. It doesn't, like, human beings, we're not against each other at our natural state without the influence of all these outside hands. We are naturally peace loving and in unity, and we want to help each other out. We don't hoard resources, and it's just a way better situation.
Right. Yeah. So on this same topic, like, what do you think like the yellow vest movement in France is going to do to kind of like shift the tides and actually get people aware of like what the financial system actually is, how it's, enslaving people and just kind of just frauding everybody.
Yeah, there's this really awesome guy, Roman Light, that has been doing just some grassroots things. He's just been doing live videos, keeping us posted on what the yellow vest really is. So he's talking about what media is calling it and then what it really is, right? Because at first it was like supposed to be a protest on fuel. And he's like, no, it's not a protest on fuel. It's a protest about everything.
Right.
And then he was saying how they are now required to remove their yellow vests in protests. So, very, very odd, kind of borderline. Is that like fascist? Like you can't wear your yellow vest? Like how weird is that? But that's a new thing they're imposing on them. So I think the yellow vest protesters are just continuing to do their grassroots efforts, and it's quantity. At this stage in the game, it's all of us doing our part to take our grassroots efforts, like our little Facebook Live videos, and communicating it in real time, real life, and in your community, and just getting the job done. This is a job that we have to get done, and there is going to be a time in the near future when that's over and things are different, and we can start over and move on from all of this. But it's a job, and it's all of our it's up to all of us to do it. So I think the yellow vest is just going to continuously get more misrepresented in the media, but I think the grassroots are going to continue just as hard to get their efforts across, just from grassroots efforts.
Yeah, I totally agree. And a lot of that stuff that happened with yellow vests, it's just been like sabotage. Like first they take away, their right to actually make a living, and then they take away the right to actually have a voice by saying, this is our group. Like this is how we distinguish ourselves based off of our working class and our struggle and our advancement in how we would like to continue to have rights as human beings. And it doesn't get any worse than that. But like a lot of it has to do with also, it always comes back to multidimensionality. Like the dude Macron in that office, like he's like basically like a little Illuminati bench boy. He's basically just
he compares himself to the god of Jupiter.
Right. Yeah.
So if that doesn't say anything.
Yeah, he wants, in a strange, weird way, he like wants to actually like be loved. Like there's no way like any type of positive energy is going through to that person. Like,
no, because it's all about control.
Yeah. So do you think the public would ever accept that our entire society? Because I don't want to say we're anywhere near where France is going through, but honestly, if it was like a different year and a different president, anything could happen. So, you think people would ever actually accept anytime soon that our society is run on like a multidimensional level based off of like, the way buildings are set up, the way, the financial system's set up with the money siphoning, the positions of the banks, like, the banks are positioned in a grid that funnels that grid to Saturn, and that's why they're so obsessed with Saturn. Like, you think people actually like find out for themselves and finally like look at how multidimensional everything is actually like is on a fundamental level?
Yeah. I think that people will start to notice that, because I think that you have a rise in the efforts of people who have their best interests for humanity. And at some point, we're going to recognize that it's because these individuals have the skill set to do so through divine rule. Now, we've been in a situation where we've been knocked upside down. We used to have divine rule. Kings, queens, monarchs, not presidents, not divine rule, but that's just the way of order of things. Pharaohs,
Right.
and with all of this increased energy, the veil being thinner, we're getting a lot more communication from the other side, from extraterrestrials that are trying to help us out, that are helping us out tremendously. We're finding, like, for instance, Tsar Nicholas from Russia, World War I. He was Russia was taken over by the Bolsheviks, but like the White Army. It was a mess. It was too overpopulated. There was nothing he could do. And it seems, by history's point of view, and for the people who would like to construct history for you, it would seem like he was just a shitty king and couldn't do anything. But it was just the powers that be, and the beast energy that was controlling people was very strong at that time. And now he's actually being channeled as an ascended master, and he's revealing the truth about what happened there. And before I'd heard it, I already sort of knew just from channeling myself. But this was the divine rule of kings, and we've been knocked upside down. What we are doing now is upside down. Like, we have, in a peaceful society, it is the order of your intuitives that have spiritual contact, your intuitives that have higher connectivity. They make a peaceful environment for your engineers and then your servants. People are happy doing what they do best. They're happy making things. They're happy serving others, right? And that's coming from ancient Vedic Indian ideals. That's just the way things used to be. Now it's flipped upside down, where you have the divine kings and queens reincarnated as servants, and you have like parasites at the top of the pyramid now ruling, because that was just the natural order of things. That's how the cookie crumbled. And if people really wanted to know about the way things are set up so esoterically, with what are those things called that are like the big pillars? They look like a big phallic symbol.
The Parthenon?
Well, I guess that too, but they stand alone. There's one in DC.
Oh, an obelisk?
Yeah, obelisk. Whenever there's an obelisk, there is like this energetic grid that follows the obelisk. And if you guys want to look up Tim Riffat, Rifat, from the Bases Project on YouTube, he explains it so well, how the grid works, and it's really just, it's not that complicated. It's this energy that is now available to us, and we can use that energy also. I mean, the energy of spoken word is getting more powerful. The energy of thought is getting more powerful, because the divine rule of kings and queens is coming back, and we are becoming our own divine rulers.
Right. I have my own grid set up in my house, and I use that for my own personal manifestation, and it works. Like, that energy actually works.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and when you feed it your own good attention, like, it's basically just going to ripple out. And it's like a secret to the universe that, like, the people who built society know. So they use that, like, as a cheat code to basically, for their own personal gain. But it depends where you come from when you're using that. And like, honestly, like, until people get their own collective voice, like, because the higher dimensionals look at everybody as one person. If you look at Earth, it's kind of like you're going to look at the collective consciousness of Earth as one person. Unfortunately, the way it is right now, no offense to anybody, no offense to, like, any person at all. It's like, you're going to see, like, a lot of just imbalance. Like, it's basically, here's what it looks like. It looks like somebody is bipolar and they're schizophrenic at the same time. Like, that's what the collective looks like as an individual. And until, like, that person can walk, talk, speak on, like, like a grade school level, even high school level, like, we're going to eventually have to get there one way or another. And it's a team effort. Like, everybody, like, we all play our part in doing what we can which is why I like making these videos and having people on like broadcasts like these, because like, you know, we all have to like chip in and do what we can, even if it's just like recording a video, writing a blog post, you know, saying like a couple things that are on your mind, and then kind of like just seeing what people think about it, even if it's, you know, just in your social circle. So it's a little,
even if one person gets something out of it.
right. Yeah, it's the little things that matter most. Like honestly, like after you're done, like that's like the things that have like the biggest impact on your personal integrity. Like when you do things that nobody else will ever see ever, like that's what matters most. Like honestly, as far as, you know, getting into like the afterlife, but like, you know, if you want to have an impact, of course, you know, you have to let people see stuff that you're doing. So, anyways, actually, what are your thoughts on the Mandela Effect? Do you have any?
Man, my thoughts on the Mandela Effect.
Yeah, do you have any experiences? Like, I know I do.
Yeah.
It's crazy shit. Like, based off of like what it is, like anybody watching out there, basically what the Mandela Effect is, it's like some people remember one reality, and then others like remember something similar, but it's also completely different. Like the most popular ones are in movies like Star Wars. Like it's like, Luke, I am your father. Like a lot of people remember that, but then if you go back and watch the movie, Vader says, no, I'm your father. It's like, no, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And
My favorite one like that is the hat of the sailor in Gilligan's Island is white, right?
Yeah.
It's black. What the heck?
No. He's never a black hat. Like, no.
It doesn't even look right.
Yeah. A lot of this,
it took me so long to understand the Mandela Effect, because I was like, yeah, like they just changed it or whatever. So it kind of frustrated me to even like look into it, because it was like I wasn't at that level yet, right? And then I guess one day I was just, because Ben from Edge of Wonder, if you guys follow that show, Edge of Wonder on YouTube, Ben Chastain, he's like so into the Mandela Effect. When I met him, he was in a talk at Contact in the Desert, and they brought up the Mandela Effect, and he like stood up and he was like so excited about it. And I was like, who is this guy? I want to be friends with him. He's so cool. Just so passionate about it. And then since then, I'm like, I gotta look into this Mandela Effect thing, because Ben is like super into it, and he's got this super cool show called Edge of Wonder on YouTube. Anyways, but then I was like, damn, that sailor hat on Gilligan's Island is black. And then I started thinking, like, why does this happen? And my 2 cents, you know, outside the box thoughts on the Mandela Effect is, you have certain people in the world who cannot die, who cannot be killed. And if something happens where they die or they're killed, they have to, at the very most, reverse time and then avoid that from happening. And so I think that's where the Mandela Effect comes from. I think so you have somebody that just, and I don't know if this is too far over people's heads, but yeah, I guess it's my own personal take on what the Mandela Effect could be, and or experimentation at CERN. I heard that CERN is doing some wacky things. That's that big thing. They're trying to like split particles in this huge thing, and then they're trying to manipulate time. And I feel like the masculine consciousness is better at explaining how that works. But I speculate that they're doing some wacky things too.
Right. Like it's not even masculine or feminine. It's just like correct or incorrect. It's like they'll do anything that basically serves their
No, I mean the masculine consciousness is better at explaining certain things. It's like how that like CERN technology works. I feel like a masculine consciousness is better at explaining it.
Right. Yeah. CERN, they're getting it wrong. It's like the way I see CERN is just a bunch of like kindergartners not understanding. Like it doesn't take a scientist to figure out that you're not supposed to split particles. When you split particles, a lot of bad shit happens, and when that shit happens, there's lasting effects for generations. And it's like they know what they're doing though. They're creating portals to try and get out of where the planet is going because they don't want to ascend and move into a higher density. So anyway, they're creating like a septic portal that they're trying to just tunnel through like a pipeline, like pipe dream, and it's never gonna work. I think it's funny.
Yeah. And I think the technology exists from the Nordic Pleiadians, that they gave the technology to Solar Warden, the space program, the Navy's secret space program, Solar Warden. That's how they were able to operate. That's how they were able to abduct people. That's how aliens are able to abduct people. Or actually, I take that back. But about the aliens, they do another weird thing, I think, with consciousness that I get, but this is not the same thing, so I take that back. But yeah, that's how they're able to do 20 and back, serve 20 years and come back, and it's as if time hadn't gone anywhere. It's this time control technology, and I feel like CERN is just like trying to create their own form of this technology when the Pleiadians already have it. So it's kind of, I feel like it's just kind of like, oh, well, like, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know.
They think they're better than them. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like this weird control thing, because that's what it's all about with these people. It's all about control.
Yeah. Being too far in the ego and just not willing to like listen or look at a craft in the sky logically. Like if you have the technology to talk to a demon, you have technology to talk to your ancestors who are hundreds of thousands of years ahead of you advanced. Like it's just a choice. And unfortunately, you know, the Mandela Effect is happening, you know, based off of their bullshit and a lot more. I personally have experiences with the Mandela Effect. I wasn't going to drop it, but I'll drop it anyway. Basically, I've seen a YouTuber die and come back. Be like, oh, I'm dead. Here's my highlight reel of the past 20 years. It's like so and so, 1965 to 2018. And then a couple of weeks ago, I seen him back on YouTube. Of course, I had to like look at their energy. I'm like, oh shit! Like, it's basically I don't know if you're familiar with like the type of MyLab terrorism they do to their victims. It's called like breaking or quantum breaking. That was the energy that I ran into, and I'm like, well, like this is pretty accurate based off of what this person is on.
What's quantum breaking?
It's like. It's hard to explain. You kind of have to see movies because that's the only way they will tell anybody about what they're doing. So I'm going to give an example from a movie. You ever see Infinity War?
No.
Well, it's basically like it's a program full of negative energy that is clamped into your third eye vortex through a machine. So they know your energy sphere on your head is an actual vortex. So what they'll do is basically utilize contraptions in like laboratories with Nazi scientists. And this can be in the third dimension of reality, or it could be right out your body in dream time. And they'll just crank all this energy through to your skull, and they'll break your fractal, like because inside your head is a fractal. It's a spherical fractal toroidal vortex, and if they can get that broken, they can control you through fear through the rest of your life.
Right.
All right. So anybody out there fighting that type of energy, just utilize the elements: wind, water, air, fire, earth, and you'll be good, you know. Because
I just want to say, for those of you who don't know what a fractal is, I just saw Alexa Person talk at Conscious Life Expo, and she explains it. It's like a deck of cards. You can like splay them out, and each piece is like who you've been, like every reincarnation, right? It could even be like different kinds of people you've been in this lifetime, because we're constantly rebirthing ourselves energetically. And she said you can go and look at and analyze a piece of your fractal, a piece of the card of decks, but you cannot remove it from the deck of cards. So what you're saying is they found a way to remove a fractal from your deck of cards, your soul fractals.
Yeah, they'll do that anytime you are unconsciously willing enough to like partake in their program, you know. And a lot of the abduction experiences have to do with like just us doing basic stuff that we think is normal, like eating meat, like. Because we still allow that genocide to happen on the planet with like animals, like controlling animals and basically like reproducing them just to kill them. It's like they can treat us the same way, like ET, right. And then the scientists and the higher ups in the shadow military, they'll team up with those negative extraterrestrials and be like, oh, well, they're like cattle, just like the cattle that they're eating. So we're gonna do whatever we want.
And that's a huge thing at Conscious Life Expo. People were talking about like never before was veganism, the spiritual importance of or just vegetarianism at least.
Right. Yeah, and that takes effort. Like, I'm not even a vegetarian. Like, I'm just talking from experience. Because if you've awakened, you've probably had some type of abduction experience, and it's like. It's just smart to be aware of what happens on the astral plane and what can happen energetically. Even if you're wide awake, you can be, you can have energy directed at you in a malicious fashion. Yeah. So, on a lighter note, a couple more questions here. I just wanted to know your take on like how. I think we might have covered this, like how people can avoid this artificial Mandela Effect timeline, as well as like reincarnating again. Like, how do you think? What are your best pointers on transitioning into an Ascension timeline?
Sure. So we have a few options right now. What people can do is, if they want to make this Ascension timeline, it's something that is going to get increasingly more popular, okay? There's so many people that are awakened that are ready to help people with the Ascension. You can try to make this Ascension timeline by treating your body really well, because this time it's like our spirit selves is merging with the physical body is merging with spirit self, and your body has got to be very healthy. I don't think this day and age people really need me to tell them exactly what that is, but I think detoxing is the new multivitamin. Detox from metal, aluminum. Our environment has been dumped with aluminum and heavy metals, and that's okay. All we have to do is get the fluoride out of your water, get a fluoride filtering system, or I even have a bottle, it's like $30, and from Seychelles, Seychelle, $35, and diatomaceous earth, teaspoon in the morning, teaspoon in the evening. Flush out those heavy metals. After 28 days, studies show a noticeable increase in metal leaving the body through the urine. So treating the body really well, if you want to make this ascension, is number one at this stage in the game. Not eating meat, actually, not drinking alcohol, any things that lower your vibration. We got to get away from those. And so if people don't want to do that, they can, it's okay. There'll be other places to learn from. We won't be incarnating back on this plane of existence again, because this existence as we know it won't be here to come back to. Even though that kind of goes against, the whole concept of time doesn't exist here and we constantly do it over and over again. There's something new and different happening now. And as Alexa Person was saying, and she's a very credible source, Arcturian contactee, her guides were telling her the reason this ascension is so um I guess it's almost like experimental, is because we haven't done it before. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, we've had solar flashes in the past. You can look up Robert Schoch's work about solar flashes and archaeological evidence of solar flashes changing the atmosphere of the planet every 125,000 years or so.
Right.
Anyways, we've had solar flashes, but we haven't had an ascension like this before. So
Right.
yeah, we're really, it's up to us to make the change, to make it happen. And if people aren't going to make it, they can learn somewhere else. They'll have other options. Obviously, it's a vast universe out there. Or they can do a cyborg reality, which will probably be reserved for the wealthy. And from what my new understanding is it's a way of escaping karma, but the greatest karma of all, because they're going to be, their vessels are going to be more of a cyborg, and then they're going to be exiting this karmic wheel. But the greatest karma of all, and the irony in that, is when humans go cyborg, they then have to learn to have emotions. Emotions is what makes human beings powerful. So if you cut your emotions off to get rid of your karma, to become part of the cyborg reality that people will be sold on, it's going to look really awesome to some people. The irony is you're going to have to spend the next million years getting emotions back.
Right.
And so from what I'm understanding is there's three options. You can make the ascension by taking really good care of your body, like seriously, really. And it's like, we're getting to a point now where you don't get to cherry pick your ascension. You need to be on board with everything. Recycling, right? Every conscious thought. The ascension is going to be a series of conscious thoughts, and only conscious thoughts. And not to freak you out, there's plenty of time, but it's just kind of changing the mindset, starting to change the mindset, starting to research into some better ways of living and taking care of ourselves and detoxing. So yeah, you can make the ascension. You can learn from another plane of existence after this one, or you can go down a cyborg reality, which will probably be reserved for the wealthy and the really, really unconscious people.
Yeah, well put.
Will probably, in those really unconscious people, will probably not be used for, they'll probably be like slaves to the wealthy cyborgs, really.
Yeah. It's crazy, because it's crazy that's even an option. Like, why? Like, the only way anybody would want that to happen is if you truly have never had an
lazy.
Yeah, you never had
really lazy and really unconscious.
You've never thought for yourself, like, for 1 second, for 1 millisecond, one original like train of thought go through your mind ever. So honestly, what I think about Ascension is all emotional. A lot of it has to do with just becoming one with your own energy, and being that energy being primarily before anything else. And understanding yourself as that light, that inner divine force of God, of who you actually are, and just taking back like your own understanding of yourself, and not 100%. Not allowing other people to think for you, and always looking outside for an opinion to form your own opinion about your own reality. That's where it begins, personally.
And just being really loving and forgiving.
So I guess that's it. Basically, is there anything else that you might want to add, kind of like as a closing statement for our audience here, Lauren?
I would say we are moving into a time. This month is going to be extremely transformative from an energetic level. So what you're sort of seeking is going to start seeking you. It's for your highest and best good. So it's really, really, really good stuff. My best advice is to start embracing the shift in energy. Start taking those calculated risks of exiting the matrix world. You know, if you want to travel, learn how you can reduce costs, you know, all that stuff. If you want to quit your stupid job you hate, quit your stupid job you hate, you know, but, you know, obviously, like, do it smartly, like, get all your finances under control. Speaking of finances, though, do not pay any more debt than is, like, absolutely owed by you. We get a lot of things in the mail where people are like, you owe us money, but, like, you don't really, you know what I mean? Right. Like, it's getting to a point now, and take this with a grain of salt, use your own discernment, but I'm like, hey, if you're not, like, ripping the money out of my hands, I'm not going to give it to you. If it's just, you know, these stupid little things. We're in a digital realm where our credit card is flown around, and it's like, I get random mail from people that are like, I don't know. And my finances are not out of control. I'm not trying to paint that picture, but I get this mail from, like, Texas that's like, I owe Texas for, like, using their highways. But then there's this other highway system called TX Tag. And I'm like, do you guys have two, like, effing things? And then I'm positive I pay them every time, and they're saying I don't. So anyways, I'm like, I can't even deal with
it's like
this.
Right. It's like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Unfortunately, that's how most corporations in America operate. It's like,
right. And then when you read the fine print, it's like, what do you do if you don't pay them? They're going to impound your car. But you're going to impound my car for $60, 50 of which are fees. So anyways, I went on, like, kind of, I hope I entertained you with my personal woes, but, stop giving away money. It's your energy. Stop giving that shit away to stupid things. And because we are coming upon a time where, like, these things are going to be condensed. They're going to be reduced. I mean, and I'm it's not up to me to say exactly how this is going to happen, but I guess most importantly, don't tie energy, emotion to money anymore. And if I do Ascension coaching, so if anyone needs help with any little area in terms of, like, detoxing healthcare, like what you need to do to make sure you're on the path to Ascension, or if you are having money trouble, if you're having family trouble, because we have to clear our karma, we have people acting crazy, if you just want someone to talk to about this stuff, definitely hit me up. I do Ascension coaching. The first half hour is free, and I like that because I want people to not feel like they need to spend a lot of money to get spiritual guidance anymore. And I think sometimes the people who need it the most are the ones that don't have, you know, disposable income. So half hour is free. If you want to get into some coaching, it's $40 an hour, and I see my clients weekly. And so
where can I find you at?
newearthconsulting.squarespace.com.
Awesome. All righty. Everybody who is interested in spiritual counseling, I personally would recommend Lauren. She really does have a unique take on consciousness and the awareness of the overall ascension path that we all find ourselves on. So check her out. And I'd like to also thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you, Lauren, for another enlightening podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
This was great. And,
this was so much fun.
Yep. Alrighty. So with that said, I'd like to just conclude. Thank you all, and talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Thanks. Bye.